device might look kind of like a suspension, but it's actually called a Herbst. So basically, it's meant to fix a bite where the lower jaw sits too far back. It works with these small telescoping rods on each side, attached to the back teeth, gently pushing the lower jaw forward. And over time, the constant pressure helps the jaw line up better. Have you seen tattoos that glow in the dark? They're not special effects. They're called blacklight UV tattoos. These tattoos use a special ink that's invisible in normal light, but when UV light shines on it, it starts glowing with bright colors. They were first made in the 1990s, but the ink wasn't safe back then. Now, with safer ink and better technology, they're becoming popular again around the world. This cigarette tin is nearly 100 years old. In the early 1900s, cigarettes were stored in tin cans to keep the tobacco fresh for months. The air inside was removed to create a vacuum seal, preserving the flavor. These tins had small latches for easy use, but they were mainly made for sailors. Each could hold around 50 cigarettes or a few ounces of tobacco.
You might think these people are cutting straw for the animals, but no. In fact, while the rest of the world builds permanent houses with bricks, Saudi cut straw from the mountains, tie it into bundles, and line it up to build walls. Then, cement is sprayed on those walls to make them stronger. Now, as soon as the roof is placed on top, eco-friendly homes are ready. They are so light that they don't collapse even in an earthquake and remain cool inside even without AC.
This is one of the most natural ways to make brown sugar. It all starts with fresh sugarcane. The stalks are washed clean, then pressed to release the sweet juice. The juice is filtered several times until it's clear and pure. Next, it's poured into a big iron pot and slowly boiled. As the temperature rises, impurities float to the top and are carefully skimmed off. After hours of simmering, the syrup thickens and darkens. This change is the heart of traditional brown sugar making. When it reaches the right texture, it's poured into molds to cool and harden. Finally, each block is wrapped in bamboo and tied with hemp string. A simple, time-honored craft that's been passed down for generations.
As she dips the glasses in this box filled with thousands of beads, it has to be carefully and precisely moved by hand so the heat spreads evenly without leaving marks. But timing is important because every frame is different, and if it's left in there just 1 second too long, it could melt or ruin it completely since these beads are heated to over 300 degrees. But once the frame becomes soft enough, they can now easily snap the lens into place.
If you ever break open a coconut and see a thick, sticky white substance inside, don't worry, it's actually something special. Normally, coconuts only have water inside, but out of thousands, 1 or 2 coconuts grow with this gooey white part. It's called a makapuno coconut, and it's rare, tasty, and very healthy.
This man always dreamed of building himself a small house, but so that the construction would not be too complicated, he decided to build himself a dugout, and you will definitely be surprised by how it looks. Initially, he dug a hole in the ground of the required size, and then began to build the frame of the future house right in it, and also installed an unusual roof with a window. But to make the house livable, he decided to insulate it, and initially laid a special insulating layer on the roof, then covered everything with artificial turf. But the most interesting part comes next. He decided to make the entrance to the house beautiful, and also laid artificial turf on the ground. But to make the house cozy, he also redid all the walls and covered them with bamboo. Give this man a like.
This razor changes how you shave your head, and it does it up to 80% faster than regular razors. That's because it uses 2 blades that glide smoothly on your skin, so you'll get a clean shave in less time with no cuts. In Japan, when moms are busy with household work, they still want their baby to feel loved and comforted. So they place the baby beside this soft plush toy, and with just 1 button, a tiny finger gently pats the baby. To the baby, it feels just like the mom is still right there.
This substance is metallic mercury. When it drips onto an aluminum plate, it destroys the aluminum's protective oxide layer and triggers a reaction that makes gray, hair-like fibers rapidly grow across the surface. This is known as aluminum amalgam corrosion, or the aluminum hair experiment. Mercury is the only metal that remains liquid at room temperature, can freeze in liquid nitrogen, and return to a shiny liquid state when thawed. Because it can severely damage aluminum structures, even a tiny drop is banned in aerospace equipment to prevent catastrophic failures.
When giant trucks loaded with potatoes open their doors, tons of potatoes tumble out like a landslide, crashing onto large metal platforms below. These platforms don't just catch the potatoes, they also separate out dirt and stones, letting the clean potatoes roll forward. Some trucks carry potatoes packed in red and yellow mesh bags, which are dumped out in the same way. Once the potatoes hit the ground, powerful water jets take over, blasting away mud and washing them clean. The rushing water pushes the potatoes into deep water channels, essentially water conveyor belts, that gently and efficiently carry them into the factory. From there, the clean potatoes move into the processing area, where they're used to extract starch, the potato starch we all know. The whole process is fast, automated, and makes handling massive harvests look effortless.
This little boy came up with a clever bird trap. Birds or chickens can walk in with no problem, but once they're inside, getting out is almost impossible. It works with a one-way gate that lets them in, then locks when they try to leave, keeping them trapped inside. This is how free-fall lifeboats work. In an emergency at sea, they drop straight from the ship into the water. Inside, a lever is pulled to release the boat, sending it into a sudden fall. The sharp nose is built to slice through the impact, easing the G-forces so the landing feels a lot smoother.
No one believed these geniuses that they could create beautiful and durable furniture using only foam, so they decided to record a video of how they created an unusual table. First, they took some foam and used a hot wire to cut out the shape they wanted. But then came the coolest part. To make the foam strong, they sprayed cement on it and then painted it to create a stone-like table out of foam. Give these geniuses a like.
This is a needle that melts once it's inside your body. At room temperature, it's solid, just strong enough to pierce your skin. But the moment it enters, your body heat starts softening it almost right away. So basically, it can lower the risk of injuries if you move. And when it comes out, it's already too soft to be reused. This isn't just a regular spoon. Even if your hands are shaking, the food still stays in place. It's designed for people with Parkinson's, since even eating can turn into a challenge. It cuts those tremors by nearly 70%, thanks to sensors inside and a small motor that moves the other way to steady it.
Check this out. This wood is called chicken blood vine in China, and you can probably see why. It's got these deep red rings and streaks running through the grain that look exactly like dried blood. Once it's chopped into discs, every slice is totally different. Some are striped, some are swirled, and some have full circles running through them. The outer bark is pretty plain and mossy, but once they run it through a bandsaw, it's like revealing gemstones hidden inside. This stuff's been used for traditional carvings and natural medicine for centuries, and it's still collected and sold by villagers today. Once dried, the discs are used for things like bracelets, beads, and decorations, and sometimes brewed into herbal teas. It's not super common, which is why pieces like this can sell for a decent amount, especially if the grain is extra clean and vibrant. Pretty wild how something this beautiful just grows out of a mossy tree in the middle of nowhere.
These black balls might look unusual, but they're protecting millions of gallons of water. They're called shade balls. In Los Angeles, about 96 million of them were once dropped into a reservoir. By blocking sunlight, they stop a toxic chemical called bromate from forming. They also slow down algae growth and save a massive amount of water from evaporating.
These are sovereign countries that don't use their own currency. Instead, they have officially adopted the US dollar as their legal tender. In Central America, we have Panama, which has used the dollar for over a century, and El Salvador. Moving down to South America, Ecuador has also dollarized its economy. Even in Oceania, island nations like Palau and Micronesia use America's currency. This helps stabilize their economies, but also means they can't control their own monetary policy.